Yeah, a lot of things could lead to these buildings, a few different problems. Some landlords want to fix their properties, but they just can't afford it. Some are absentee, of course, and some are just dead. Code enforcers see there's a problem, but a complicated legal system keeps them from tearing down the buildings quickly. Now, regardless of the cause, neighbors tell me this goes beyond aesthetics. Now, this first came onto our radar over the summer when a series of fires in the Booker, Washington Heights neighborhood were in buildings described as vacant by Columbia Fire. So I spoke with neighbors, and while there were different theories on what exactly happened with those fires, a theme was that those buildings presented an opportunity for crime.
Property owners check on their property and do more with their property than just leave them abandoned and just sitting up, because as long as they're sitting up, somebody's going to burn them up or tear them up.
There's no care for life. Someone could have been killed in that fire. And it hurts. My seniors are scared. My young people are scared.
So we used the Freedom of Information Act and got the data on Columbia's cases for boarded and demolition tract buildings. Now, the majority of them are in the northern part of the city, so that's where I went.
You know, this is a vacant house here. It's been vacant over 10 years.
Active Golden Acres neighborhood president Sandra Ricks gave me a tour of her community. She has pride in her home of 21 years and says there needs to be more accountability.
We have slumlords that won't fix their houses, and people move into them and they still won't fix them.
Just yards from her home, there's a house caved in on itself. There's broken windows and overgrown vegetation, but just enough of the building is standing to see the yellow Columbia Code Enforcement sign.
Tear down these houses, find these people with stuff all in their yards, on the gates and stuff. I would love to see that.
Ricks is not alone. Take a 7-minute drive southeast and you'll arrive at Waits Road. Homeless No More CEO Lila Anna Sauls gave me a tour of 2 buildings on the road right across from her transitional housing program. It's a stark contrast between what is objectively a very nice house here versus, you know, you've got crooked windows literally. And
exactly. I'd say those buildings pose a safety risk for everyone. What it allows for is a transient population who are not members of this neighborhood community. So when you can see footpaths and you can see holes in fences and you know that people are cutting through and participating in illegal activity at night because they have a place to do it in, that puts everybody at risk.
I spoke with the owner of one of the homes on the phone. He says he's overseas and has been trying, unsuccessfully, to get a contractor to address the problem.
I think I have a big responsibility, knowing that they are squatters. The first thing is to kind of see what I can do to, get the house back up to code and standard. I don't think anybody should buy property and just leave it abandoned.
He says he'll have his locally based uncle personally look into if and how squatters are entering. Those buildings are part of the 314 property cases Columbia Code Enforcement had for boarded or demolition tract buildings as of mid-June. When landlords can't or won't address the situation, it falls to the city's top code enforcer.
I see what everybody else sees. I mean, they are a blight to the neighborhood.
Columbia housing official David Hatcher pushed for the creation of an October 2019 vacant building ordinance, which required vacant buildings to be registered, have a local point of contact, and create a fee system. He says he wants his team proactively enforcing it in the next 6 to 8 months.
So 2 years deep, we're still in the education phase?
Well, it passed in 2019, in October 2019, and a vacant building it's not vacant by definition to 120 days, which put us right in February 2020, right when the pandemic started. So that actually has literally put that on the back burner for a while, and we're just now diving into it this year.
Code enforcement does have the power to demolish the buildings, but he says it can take up to 3 years. He gave me this flow chart to explain it.
And you can see how we can literally go in circles on a demolition project. And a lot of times with our vacant buildings, they change ownership a lot. So whenever it changes ownership, we have to re-notify the new owner, so that kind of slows down our process because we have to re-notify.
So the process starts all over.
It starts all over if it changes ownership.
When it does get approved, Hatcher says his team is often reliant on taxpayer money to get the job done.
If you had more money, you could demolish more houses.
Yes, sir.
So the budget for code enforcement in the city has actually gone up the last 2 years, fiscal years I should say, and the council may get new energy on this issue in January. I spoke with incoming District 1 council member Tina Herbert about the issue. She formerly worked in the community development department. So there's a lot more to this story. I really encourage you to read more on WISTV.com.